Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Caballero. I am with Pivot In. Pivot In is an organization that focuses on helping and supporting those that want to pivot, and with the in focused around to the what degree they want to take this to. I have the honor and the pleasure to have Daryl with me, Daryl Bogan, who recently went through his pivot. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Daryl to the stage. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you, Sam. Thank you for the introduction. Glad to be here. Great journey, and I love what you're doing in the space. So it's definitely a pleasure.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being here. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. Tell me a little bit about yourself when it comes to you, where you're at, and where you're from.
Okay. Well, Sam. I my career, my first career was in the United States Army. So I enlisted and I served 26 years honorably in the Army,
Wow.
and mostly in healthcare, health services branch. I got all the way to the rank of a sergeant major, and then decided that, hey, 26 years of service is great, but I want to do something different. I want to do something more. So I decided, it was time for me to move on, and I was fortunate. I was blessed enough to get into the learning professional development arena with USAA. So I'm a learning performance consultant at USAA, and I work in the area of leadership development. So 33 days in at USAA.
Well, congratulations in your transition. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
So tell me, what is it that triggered you and made you decide that, you know what, it is time to start making tracks out?
So I think, a lot of it had to do with family.
Okay.
You know, I have an 8-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old. But my oldest daughter has been in 5 elementary schools, and we just I wanted some stability, and I sent it to the rank of sergeant major and in the Army, and I was like, I'd like to do something different. The end is inevitable with the military. There's only so long you can serve, and I wanted to leave while I still had a fire and a passion to do something. So at that point, I decided, hey, let's take off the uniform and find something that I would enjoy doing as in the corporate structure. So, but I would mainly say that it was family that kind of pushed me to the side of transition. So
family and those that we support and they support us are always wonderful triggers when it comes to, wait a minute, 8, 5 different elementary schools. Whew.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was definitely a challenge, right? Because being in the military, wherever you go, you'll be taken care of. And I've said this,
Hmm.
I said this to soldiers all the time. I say this to families all the time. The soldier will always be taken care of. There's always a network to receive them, no matter where they go.
Right.
It's the family that is sometimes they're left to fend for themselves and they're left on their own to try to figure it out. Now there are support agencies, and they're there, but the welcome that you get as a soldier, or as an airman or as a service member when you come to a new organization, that welcome isn't always, that same welcome isn't always extended to the family. So
Yeah.
you get to your new job, and you start working, and thankfully, I had a wife that could navigate those waters while I kind of navigated my job. So
Yeah.
but definitely was challenging for them.
So learning and development was now your call. So what brought that on?
So when I decided to transition, I got into different transition programs. I got into 4-block, which I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for 4-block. And that's not to say that your standard transition program that's offered through your branch isn't valuable, but I think going outside of the traditional transition programs really widened my aperture of, how challenging this is going to be. You hear the comment saying, "Oh, you're a veteran. Everybody wants to hire you," until you start looking for a job, and you realize that it's a little more challenging than just standing outside a company and say, "Hey, I'm a veteran. Hire me." Yes, so and 4Block really opened my eyes to one, identifying my why.
Okay.
Identifying what drives me, what gives me purpose, what gives me energy, because now I have a choice. I leaving the Army, and now I have a choice, and what I want to do. And I didn't want to be the normal statistic where they say, hey, there's several that leave their job after, they never stay with their first job, or they leave within the first year. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go put all that energy into something and then decide that, hey, this is not what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of research. I did a lot of soul searching. I did a skill assessment, and then I really just found out what I did in the Army. After 26 years, there had to be something that I enjoyed. I truly enjoyed, and for me,
Yeah.
it was developing people. Watching people grow. Giving them opportunities to grow and learn. That made me feel good to watch others succeed. So, I immediately said to myself, how do I translate that, and how do I do that in the corporate world? And that's what led me to training and development, or learning and development. Was, I really enjoy watching, providing the fruit, the nourishment to watch people grow and be better. So that's my calling. That's what I want to be when I grow up, and that, by the grace of God, that's what I'm doing right now for USAA.
That's so awesome. And for those listeners out there that don't know what 4Block is, what is 4Block?
So 4Block is a transition program, and what's unique about 4Block is you're tied into cohorts,
Okay.
and you're with these cohorts for 4Block. Forgive me, I believe it's 7 weeks, and they teach you, they provide you a guide on how to navigate your transition. So one, identifying your sense of purpose, helping you with resume, helping you. We did mock interviews, and we brought in leaders from the corporate sector to tell us a little bit about what they do with various companies. So USAA, Wells Fargo, EY, Deloitte. There were several companies that came in each week, and they told us, one, what they do, what their company, what the why to their company, what makes them special. And then they gave us transition advice on, hey, these are things that you need to think about, how to execute an effective elevator pitch. So it's basically a transition program on steroids, tied directly to finding your calling, and then finding that next career once you take off the uniform.
Awesome. So they helped in regards to your particular why. Yeah. How you were able to take those skills and knowledge, the aptitude from the Army, and help you build that bridge from the military side to the civilian side.
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. So with your transition, with your pivot, what are some things you learned about yourself that you didn't know before?
I gotta look at my notes because I have a bunch of stuff. I think being, I'm not, I wasn't a 20-year-old kid that left the military. I think our journeys are different as you get, at different points in your life. And I had this assumption that that the world was just going to open up and just, I was just going to just fall right into what I wanted to be. And what I realized was that transition takes work, and I didn't know it all. I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about transition because I've never transitioned. So, one thing that this pivot taught me was you have to have some humility. You have to have humility. You have to have some grace, and you have to be willing to learn because, I only know Army. That's all I know. Even in the training and development space, I'm well attuned to training and development within the Army, but what I lacked was the industry knowledge. So, you have to have humility. You have to have some courage too. So I realized that, I'm an introvert by nature. I'm an extrovert out of necessity. So I had to channel my inner extrovertedness, I guess, if that's not even a word, but I had to have the courage to reach out to individuals like yourself, individuals that work in the training and development space to get understanding of what the industry looked like. And what that allowed me to do was identify significant gaps in what I should know, and then it allowed me the opportunity to go out there and learn some of these, critical skills, so I could have the conversations with training and development professionals on their level and not on the Army level. So I guess the reality is I needed to come to them. They don't need to come to me, and they shouldn't have to.
Right.
And the other thing I learned is that failure hurts. To fail hurts. I was told no quite a few times, whether it be in job interviews or just requests for information through informational interviews. No hurts, but no is necessary, because you can't grow without no. So I really I really took that in, and I really was able to channel rejection in a different manner of not wanting to be vindictive, not wanting to be, I'll show you made a mistake, but it was more of you've just provided me in my failure an opportunity to grow, and each failure was an opportunity for me to grow. Each no was an opportunity for me to sit back, reassess, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, and it's all of those no's and all of those failures that got me to where I'm at today. So that was the major learning point for me throughout this journey.
Well, Daryl, you're bringing tears to my eyes because we all face those no's, especially when people tell you no and they didn't tell you no, they just ignore you. It's so hard to be able to pick up the pieces and move on. And like you said, being able to take that no and to go and learning from those opportunities. What would you tell those that are about to transition? For instance, the 18-year veteran that's been in, who is going to hit 20, and they said, you know what, I'm retiring at 20. What would you tell them?
Wow. It's like pull up a chair, and grab a meal because we're going to be here a while.
Right.
I think the big thing is ask yourself truly, are you ready to leave? Because I think many of us think we're ready to leave, and we haven't identified the why. Like, right. I want to leave. Well, why do you want to leave? It's 20 years. Okay, well, what's the why to it? What is the energy that's pushing you to leave the Army or to leave the military in 20 years? What's the drive behind that? What's the motivation? And then preparation, the more you have, the more time you have to prepare, the better you're going to be. So, don't assume, eliminate the assumptions that that time is your friend. I use I looked at time as my enemy. And there were a lot of sleepless nights, and my wife would probably tell you that I probably dedicated a little bit too much time, but I wanted to capitalize on what I considered free time, because at that point in your career, there's really not a lot of pressure. You still have you still have a paycheck coming in, you still have your benefits, you still have your job, and you still have a plethora of resources at your disposal. Right. While you're still in it, and it's not to say that you don't have it when you come out, but they just move around a little bit once you leave the military. So, prepare, ask questions, find your why. Find what fuels you. And see if you can turn that into a profession once you leave, your particular branch of service. Whether that means you go into business for yourself, whether that means you go into corporate, whether that means you're doing volunteer. Find what makes you feel good, and try to turn that into your next calling once you leave. And then once you figure that out, then identify the gaps and use that time to fill those gaps and learn. So reach out to as many people as you can to understand what that profession looks like. Because again, you're wearing a uniform. You may not truly understand what that looks like once you leave. So ask those that do it, and ask those that do it well, like yourself. When I was transitioning, to say, hey, what does this look like? And how do I do what you do? And what do I need to read? What do I need to study? What websites do I need to, what development do I need to invest in now? So when I do take off that uniform, you're never going to be 100% ready,
right.
but you'll be ready enough to start. So that Sam, I think that would be my advice. Did I answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was on a tangent.
No, you hear stories of those that are going to transition out, whether it's an option for them or it's not an option, and they have some time in their hands to start preparing. A day before, a week before, a month before, even a year before is just simply not enough, depending on what you want to do. So, no, you're absolutely right. What are you doing or willing to do to empower yourself? And so a final question, a final thought is, what does this do for you now moving forward, now that you've gone through this pivot?
So, we always say pay it forward. Whatever you learn, then you should teach it to others. And I think that's the big thing for me is, one, don't stop learning. I am in my infancy when it comes to transition. So, I'm still learning, but I think it's important to then provide the tools and the resources that were provided to me to say, hey, you may not want to be a training and development consultant or a learning performance consultant. You may want to do something else, but these are the techniques, and these are the tools that I use that help me, and they may help you. So I think it's important that you pay it forward once you have found some success, because for every veteran that finds success, there are several that are still trying to achieve success in that transition space. So leave no fellow comrade behind. Help them, provide them what you can. Be that shoulder to lean on, and be that wind to their back sometimes, because sometimes they may get complacent as well. So allow yourself to be that wind in their back to move them along with if need be.
Well, I love that humble heart, sir. That's so awesome, because you're right. We do need to pay it forward. You just never know. Soldier, airman, sailor, those folks definitely need that help. However, now that you've taken the journey, what can you do to help others take theirs? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. For those that are just listening, we've had the pleasure of having Daryl with us. Daryl recently transitioned from the Army, now with a new job at USAA. I wish you the very, very best. Thank you very much for taking the time once again.
Sam, thank you. And again, I can't thank you enough for all your help. Because you were one of the very first that I reached out when I figured out I'm going to be a training and development specialist. That's what I'm going to do. And you were one of the first ones I reached out to, and you welcomed me with open arms. And I tell you that for a person that's transitioning and they're trying to navigate these turbulent waters, that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for somebody with an open arm to say, hey, come on in. I'll tell you some things, and so thank you. If there's ever anything I can do for you, I'm forever in your debt. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for what you do every day. I really appreciate it.
Man, oh, you're bringing a tear to my eye. So thank you very much, Daryl. I appreciate you very much. For all those out there, please go to pivotin.com to find out more information on what you could do to help yourself, because it is all about a community helping each other. So thank you once again, and I appreciate you for being here. Y'all take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.